Lil Baby, The Leaks, album review. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It Music Reviews Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we got a pretty good episode for you today. We're going to end off Wednesday night, kind of end off our week here talking about Lil Baby for the final time. Look, I've been talking about Lil Baby since he's been doing the Wham Wednesdays, since he's been dropping a couple of singles, etc., etc., etc. This has been in the works for quite a while now. And I will say, covering Lil Baby's music, seeing Lil Baby back, it's always a good thing. Now, has there been anything groundbreaking from Lil Baby? Has there been anything that I've, personally really enjoyed? There was only like one song, I think, that I was like, alright, this is really fire in my opinion. I think Lil Baby is really at his stride here. But, guys, as I talk about Lil Baby, as I talk about any of these other rappers, it gets hard covering rappers sometimes, especially in the big 2020s, because, Lord goddamn mighty, these guys sound the same, especially in 2025. But, hey, we haven't done one of these in a while. I haven't talked about Lil Baby, haven't done a Lil Baby album review in quite a while, so it only makes sense to end off this good old Wednesday to save for the big old Thursday night when, another rapper drops that I've been anticipating. I've been seeing all the promo for, and I can't wait to check out that album. That's going to be a fun time, hopefully. But let's not get into any of that. Let's focus on Lil Baby here. So let's get into it, guys. Now, before we even start this album review, I want to go over the format. It could have been a while since you've listened to my podcast, or you've never listened to my podcast. So here's how we do album reviews on this show. We're going to go over 3 overall points of how I'm feeling about the album, and then we're going to go over every single track and rate every single track 1 out of 5. And then I'll give you my final thoughts at the end and my overall album score review to finish it off, guys. So, look, Lil Baby, The Leaks. Apparently, this was supposed to be leaked music or whatever, but we got 15 songs, 41 minutes long, so thankfully, this wasn't the longest Lil Baby album, which I can praise for. I can say, yeah, thank God this wasn't like a 1 hour fucking crazy-ass album, like his past projects were, a long time ago. I always appreciate that, but I will say, guys, it didn't really matter the length of this album, because the first point I have about this damn album is the production. Holy shit. The production of this album is so fucking basic, so kind of whatever, that I just kind of sit here and I wonder, what even in the fuck am I listening to? And in fact, there is no point of, consistent production. There's the old-ass 2020 sad piano trap beats on here. There's a beat on here called Superman that just sounds like a fucking kindergartner was fucking, playing on some like toy set or whatever. Like, that's what the sounds are given, that's what the synths, that's what the piano, that's what everything about that beat, sounds like, which is fucking crazy to me. And also the fact too, guys, one of the things that I don't enjoy about the production of this album is the basic ass 808 trap beats. The production stays the same throughout the whole entire album. Like, Lord goddamn mighty. My second point too is the performances of the features. Now, we do have quite a lot of features on here, guys. We can go over them real quick and how many features you got on here. But you got Playboy Carti, which I will say Playboy Carti did his thing on here. Schoolie. Schoolie was a terrible ass feature. I get they were sampling off of him, but I guess they should have just kept the sample and not used Schoolie's verse, because Schoolie's verse was ass. We had Lil Yachty, we had Lucky, we had V's, we even had Young Thug, we had Rilo Rodriguez, we had G Herbo at the end. And G Herbo did his thing on here, but Lil Yachty and V's added nothing to this damn song. Lucky sounded like a goddamn crackhead in my goddamn opinion. I'll just be honest with you. So that's definitely fucking something. The features were honestly kind of disappointing. The only good feature on here is Playboy Cardi, and I'd say G Herbo had a pretty good verse. That's about it. This did not need to have a lot of features on it, because the features on here didn't do fucking much. Now, Lil Baby's performance is my third point on this album. How does Lil Baby stack up on the leaks? I mean, I'll be real. Lil Baby goes from rapping to alright to having a pretty good flow to honestly just doing the same generic ass shit over and over and over again. I mean, Lord goddamn mighty. And the worst part is, you know, Lil Baby, I think he's trying his best here. You know, he tried to do some deep voice shit on a couple of tracks where he tried to, you know, rap his ass off. But then, you know, it's weird because the rapping his ass off tracks are the sexual deep tracks that he's trying to have, and they just don't really hit. I'll just be real with you. You know, Lil Baby rapping about, you know, fucking pussy. I'll just be... You know, the way he raps about, you know, sex and stuff, I'll just be real. It sounds absolutely ass in my opinion. It sounds shit. And the fact, too, you know, he's trying to make it in the hook. He's trying to, you know, do all this, and it just doesn't really come together, in my opinion. So that's definitely something. Lil Baby was one of the more disappointing performances of this whole entire album. Some tracks that I did like, you know, I did have a few tracks that I did enjoy. You know, there was only far few between, I'll just be real with you. But let's do it, you know, besides Schoolie having a terrible verse, you know, that wasn't bad at all. And, you know, I do like All On Me. But other than that, all these other tracks, in my opinion, are just kind of generic as hell. So that's kind of disappointing in my opinion. But guys, let's go over every single track. I will give you my thoughts of how I feel about them. And let's get into that. We have, I mean, Lord Almighty, we got, you know, 15 songs, 41 minutes long. So let's start out talking about the first track. The first track off the album, which I did a review for recently, is Mrs. Trendsetter. Mrs. Trendsetter has such a generic ass beat. The hook does not really sound good at all. And I would say for an intro track, this is probably one of the worst intro tracks you could have on a Lil Baby album. I'll just be honest with you. 2 out of 5. The next track, track number 2, is Guaranteed. Guaranteed was not that good in my opinion. You know, I don't really like the slow beat on here. The rapping, in my opinion, was not that good. I'll just be honest with you. The whole, you know, him always rapping about, you know, the same shit. It gets to a point when you do the same ass flow. I'll just be honest with you. 2 out of 5. Try to Love. This is supposed to be some, like, deep emotional song, you know, getting your people up and all that type of stuff. I'll just be honest with you, it really just didn't really do nothing for me. 1 out of 5. Nasty Girl. This one had a terrible ass hook in my opinion. I think the hook is so bad that I was just kind of like, wow, you know, rolling my fucking eyes to it. 2 out of 5. Real Shit. Real Shit is okay. I think it has a pretty good beat, and I honestly overall enjoy the flows on here. So Real Shit's not that bad. That's an easy 3 out of 5. Violation. I tried to like it, but I just think the way Lil Baby's rapping on here is kind of offbeat. I didn't really enjoy it. 2 out of 5. Let's Do It, featuring Playboy Cardi and Schoolie. Playboy Cardi killed it on here. I'd say even Lil Baby had a good verse too, but Schoolie did not sound that good. Forever Slime. And by the way, Let's Do It's going to get an easy... I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because Schoolie kind of ruined the song. Forever Slime is the next track. I'd say Forever Slime is kind of okay. I do like the hook, and that's kind of all I can say about it, is that it has a pretty good hook. But other than that, that's goddamn it. So 3 out of 5. Middle of the Summer. For a track called Middle of the Summer, it has no energy to it. It is generic as hell. It sounds like the 2020s of Lil Baby doing the piano fucking trap beats. 1 out of 5. What She Like, I think this has a good hook, but other than that, the verses do not stand out. It's the same ass flows. I don't really enjoy it that much. 2 out of 5. And then this track right here, the next one is Get Along featuring Lil Yachty, Lucky, and V's. Get Along might be one of the worst tracks I've ever heard in my goddamn life. Lil Yachty's verse sounds fucking awful. Lucky sounds awful. V sounds awful. Lil Baby sounds like he's chewing gum while he's rapping. 0 out of 5. Superman, 0 out of 5. The worst beat I've ever heard on a rap song. And Young Thug sounds painfully so bad that I can't even take his emotional verse seriously at all. State Troopers, Rilo Rodriguez had a terrible ass verse, and it is once again this like deep, emotional, sad fucking piano trap beat. 1 out of 5. Author Boy, this is one of the tracks that I did enjoy. I like the upbeat from Lil Baby. The flow is really good. He did his thing on here. 3 out of 5. And then All On Me featuring G Herbo. I do like this song. I think G Herbo had a good verse and Lil Baby did his thing. That one is an easy 4 out of 5. So overall, guys, when we talk about Lil Baby's album, The Leaks, this album was honestly kind of shit. There's only a couple of tracks here that I would even grace the fact that I enjoy, but I would never listen to any of these tracks on my own time. I think this album stands from being too generic, feeling too much like a mixtape, and honestly, when you have shit called The Leaks, at least drop some of your best fucking leaks, because I feel like the only good leak on here was with Playboy Cardi. That's about it. Like, Lord goddamn mighty, what's fucking going on here? So overall, Lil Baby The Leaks album gonna get an easy ass. And honestly, I hate to do this, but hey, when you drop generic ass albums, I'm gonna have to rate it just like that. So this album is only gonna get from me a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. We're dropping new content every single day. Get ready. We got a lot of stuff coming up on Thursday night. I can't wait, guys. I heard 21 Savage might be dropping an album. That's going to be so fucking fun. I will see y'all later. Have a good one. Yeah, guys.